The title is, Will Barr Get Away with Covering Up Treason for H.W. Bush, Reagan, and now Trump? And it's about Bill Barr and how, we now, Judge Amy Berman Jackson, day before yesterday, or maybe 2 days before yesterday, in this court ruling, based on CREW, what's CREW stand for? Responsibility and Ethics in Government, something like that. But RE is the responsibility and ethics part. And I think C is Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics maybe in Washington. But in any case, CREW filed the Freedom of Information Act lawsuit back when Trump was still president, after the Mueller report came out, but it had not been released. Mueller released it, thinking that it would go straight to the public and everybody would go, oh my God, we've got to prosecute Donald Trump. Look at this, 10 specific incidents of obstruction of justice. Any normal person would be in prison for this. And what was he obstructing justice around? The fact that he was trying to collude with the Russians and that they had helped him win the election. And that, I think America would have been aghast and Trump would have been prosecuted. Had Bill Barr not stopped us from seeing that thing for about a month and then come out in public in front of the American people. Remember when Congress called him to testify, the report still was not public. Even the redacted version still was not public. He lied to Congress. He lied to the media. He lied to you and me. I mean, these are all crimes. But what he was doing was he was lying to cover up the crimes of Donald Trump. And it turns out that Bill Barr has a long history of this. You go back to the 1980s, and Ronald Reagan cut a deal with the Iranians. President Bani Sadr, the guy who was president of Iran at the time, told the Christian Science Monitor in 2013, and there's a link to that actual article with the president of Iran saying this in my piece today over at HartmannReport.com. He said, quote, Ayatollah Khomeini and Ronald Reagan had organized a clandestine negotiation, later known as the October Surprise, which prevented the attempts by myself and then U.S. President Jimmy Carter to free the hostages before the 1980 U.S. presidential election took place. The fact that they were not released tipped the results of the election in favor of Reagan. End quote. So that's what the president, the guy who was the president of Iran in 1980, during the election, during the campaign when Ronald Reagan was running against Jimmy Carter. And, you go back and you look at the polling, and right up until the last couple months, Carter was way ahead of Reagan. But then Carter had his disastrous attempt to free the hostages. The helicopter went down in the desert. It got covered, all across America. Those of you who remember 1980, all across America, people were tying yellow ribbons to trees and putting them on the front door of their houses. I mean, it was a thing. It was all over the country. And when Carter's attempt failed, that was functionally the end of the Carter presidency. And it turns out that this was something that had been organized by the Ronald Reagan for President campaign with the Ayatollah Khomeini, the head of Iran. And the president of Iran has come out and said so. Well, Lawrence Walsh had been appointed special prosecutor in 1986 by Congress, and he was looking into this. It was called Iran-Contra. We would sell them weapons if they would hold the hostages, and then we took the money from selling them weapons and used that to illegally buy weapons and send them to the Contras down in Nicaragua, and also to mess with Guatemala and El Salvador. Things that Congress had specifically passed laws forbidding Ronald Reagan from doing. He did it anyway. I mean, we're talking about breaking major laws passed by Congress. So the investigation by Lawrence Walsh started in 1986. Reagan left office in 88, and, well, actually, January of 89. And January 20th specifically. And like within a week of his leaving office, we got the announcement that he had Alzheimer's and he would never again be seen publicly. I mean, I think he might have made one overseas trip during that first couple of weeks. Maybe it was a couple of weeks, but it was very, very quickly after he left. And so now we've got President George Herbert Walker Bush. Lawrence Walsh is continuing his investigation. He continues it through the 4 years of the Bush presidency. Bush refuses to turn over any documents to him that might have helped his investigation. Caspar Weinberger, who had been the defense secretary for Trump, or for Reagan, refused to turn over anything. Ollie North refused to turn over anything. I mean, you had this cast of characters, and they had already convicted several of them of crimes. Elliot Abrams, he was looking to go into prison. Ollie North, looking to go into prison. Caspar Weinberger, looking to go to prison. And so George Herbert Walker Bush, then Lawrence Walsh, the prosecutor, subpoenaed George Herbert, then President Bush's diary, his campaign diary from the 1980 campaign. And he wanted to see, did you have any contacts with Iran too? And Bush said, no, I'm not going to give that to you. And this came to a head the week of Christmas of 1992. This is 7 weeks after Bush has lost the election to Clinton, and 5 weeks before Clinton's going to be sworn in as president. So Bush is still president, but he's lost the election. It's in the lame duck period. So he goes to Bill Barr and he says, what do I do? How do I avoid going to prison for treason and revealing the treason of Ronald Reagan? And Bill Barr in 2001 told some report, this university was doing an oral history of the Bush and Trump and Reagan administrations. And Barr came right out and said, it was my suggestion. Pardon everybody, that will shut down the investigation. Which is not only what Trump did on his way out of town, but that's what George Herbert Walker Bush did. And thus you had this screaming headline across the top of the New York Times. I reprint the actual, kind of a photo of the New York Times in my article over at HartmannReport.com. Bush pardons 6 in Iran affair, averting a Weinberger trial, prosecutor assails cover-up. And then the subhead, Bush diary at issue. And then below that, 6-year inquiry into deal of arms for hostages, all but swept away. So the question, do you think, Joe Biden, President Biden has said, hey, if we're gonna go after anybody, that's not up to me, it's up to Merrick Garland. So is Merrick Garland gonna go after Bill Barr? For that matter, is he gonna go after Donald Trump? It looks like he is. But whether Bill Barr is in his sights or not, I don't know. But I just thought I'd raise the question because it's something that, it's really worth talking about. I tweeted it out this morning, too. It's over on our Facebook page, too, if you want to check it out.